Before the world knew his name, before the bright lights, the cheering crowd, and the golden confetti, there was only survival. In a quiet corner of the Philippines, tucked away from the noise of the cities and the promises of opportunity, lived a young boy whose dreams were bigger than the walls surrounding him. His home was small, a fragile structure made of thin wood and rusted metal sheets, barely strong enough to stand against the heavy rains and scorching sun. When storms came, water leaked through the roof, dripping onto the floor where the family slept together at night. This was not a house of comfort, but it was a house of love. Every morning before the sun fully rose, the boy woke up to the sounds of struggle. His father prepared to leave early, searching for any kind of work that could bring food home. Construction, carrying heavy loads, or whatever task someone would pay for that day. His mother stayed behind, trying to stretch a few coins into meals that could feed the family. Some days there was rice, some days there was only hope. The boy understood hardship at an age when most children were still learning how to play. School was not always guaranteed. There were days he wanted to attend classes, to sit at a desk and learn like other children, but hunger often stood in the way. When your stomach is empty, concentration becomes impossible. When your family needs help, childhood becomes a luxury you can't afford. Yet in the middle of this harsh reality, there was one thing that gave him strength: music. He didn't own a real microphone. He didn't have a guitar, piano, or studio. Sometimes he sang into a broken fan pretending it was a microphone. Sometimes he sang into the open air, letting his voice echo through narrow streets and crowded alleys. His voice was raw, emotional, and filled with pain far beyond his years. He sang while helping his mother. He sang while walking barefoot on dusty roads. He sang while watching other children play. Singing was not a hobby for him. It was his escape. It was his prayer. It was his way of surviving. Neighbors began to notice. At first, they paused out of curiosity. Then they stayed because something about his voice felt different. It carried sadness, but also hope. It carried hunger, but also courage. Some neighbors quietly wiped their eyes as they listened, surprised that such a powerful voice could come from such a small boy. People would say, "That child sings from his soul." But the boy didn't think about talent or dreams of fame. All he thought about was helping his family. Sometimes a few coins were dropped into his hands after he sang. Not much, but enough to help buy rice or eggs, or a small meal for the day. Each coin meant survival. Each song meant one more step away from hunger. At night, when the house grew quiet, the boy lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain hit the roof. He imagined a different life, not a rich one, just a stable one. A life where his parents didn't look so tired. A life where singing was joy, not necessity. But dreams were dangerous things when you were poor. Still, the boy kept singing. One evening, someone showed him a video on a small phone, a clip from America's Got Talent. He watched as singers stood on a giant stage, lights shining like stars, judges sitting at a long table, and crowds cheering loudly. His eyes widened. He had never seen anything like it. For the first time, a thought entered his mind: what if my voice could take me there? The idea felt impossible. A poor boy, from a small place, with nothing but a voice. Yet the thought refused to leave him. Days passed, life stayed hard, but his singing grew stronger. Every note he sang carried his story, the hunger, the struggle, the responsibility placed on his small shoulders. His voice matured quickly, shaped by pain and perseverance. Eventually, someone noticed more than just talent. They noticed destiny. With help from kind strangers and believers in his gift, the boy was given a chance so big it terrified him. An audition for America's Got Talent. The very show he had once watched on a cracked phone screen. The night before leaving, he hugged his parents tightly. His mother cried quietly, afraid to hope too much. His father held him and whispered words of encouragement, reminding him where he came from and why he sang. He didn't sleep much that night. As dawn arrived, he looked back at the place he grew up, the streets, the house, the people who had listened to his voice when no one else did. He wasn't leaving them behind. He was carrying them with him. Every step he took forward was for them. Every song he would sing was for survival. Every breath was for hope. He didn't know what awaited him on that stage. He didn't know if the judges would like him. He didn't know if he would succeed. But one thing was certain, he wasn't singing for fame. He was singing for life. The stage was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. As the young Filipino boy stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, the lights burned bright above him, almost blinding. The audience stretched endlessly into the darkness, rows upon rows of strangers waiting to judge his fate in just a few minutes. His heart pounded so loudly he wondered if the microphone could pick it up. Back home, he had sung on dusty streets and inside cramped rooms. Here, every sound echoed, every breath mattered. He stood still for a moment, gripping the microphone with both hands. His fingers trembled. His shoulders rose and fell as he tried to calm himself. The massive AGT logo glowed behind him, a symbol of dreams coming true or being crushed. "Hello," he said softly. His voice almost disappeared into the vast theater. The judges leaned forward. Simon Cowell watched closely, his expression serious, unreadable. Years of experience had taught him to recognize confidence and fear. What stood before him was not confidence, but something far deeper. "Tell us your name," one of the judges asked gently. The boy introduced himself, his accent clear, his voice small but sincere. When asked where he was from, he answered proudly, "The Philippines." A ripple of applause moved through the crowd. Then came the question that changed everything. "Why are you here?" The boy swallowed hard. He glanced down at the floor, then back up toward the judges. His eyes reflected the weight of responsibility no child should have to carry. "I sing to help my family," he said. Silence fell. He explained how his parents struggled, how some nights they went to sleep hungry, and how singing had become his way of surviving. His words weren't rehearsed. They came from experience, from truth. The audience listened, motionless. Simon Cowell's expression softened. "You ready to sing for us?" Simon asked. The boy nodded. The music began. The first note escaped his lips, quiet, controlled, almost fragile. Some people leaned back, unsure what to expect. Then something shifted. His voice grew stronger, deeper, filled with emotion that felt far beyond his years. By the second line, the theater was frozen. His voice wasn't perfect in a technical sense. It was better. It was honest. Each note carried pain, hunger, and hope woven together in a way that no training could teach. His voice cracked slightly at moments, not from weakness, but from emotion. The camera cut to the judges. One judge covered their mouth in shock, another slowly nodded in disbelief. And then, there was Simon. Simon Cowell leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the boy. The usual skepticism was gone. In its place was something rare, vulnerability. His jaw tightened, his eyes glistened. The audience felt it too. People stopped breathing. Some began to cry silently. Others reached for the hands of strangers beside them. The boy sang like his life depended on it, because, in many ways, it had. Every lyric was a story. Every note was a memory of nights without food, of watching his parents struggle, of singing not for applause, but for survival. Halfway through the song, the applause began, soft at first, then growing. But he didn't stop. He didn't look at the crowd. He focused on the song, on the promise he had made to his family. When he reached the final note, his voice soared, and then silence. A heavy, emotional silence that lasted just a little too long. The boy lowered the microphone. His chest heaved as he caught his breath. His eyes were wet, but he didn't wipe them away. He stood there, waiting. Then the theater exploded. A standing ovation erupted as the entire audience rose to their feet. Cheers echoed off the walls. Some people screamed his name. Others clapped through tears. The boy looked around in disbelief. He had never experienced anything like this. The judges stood too, all except one. Simon Cowell remained seated. The boy's heart sank for a moment. Then Simon stood slowly. The applause grew even louder. Simon took a deep breath before speaking. His voice was calm but emotional. "I've heard thousands of singers," Simon said. "But what makes you special isn't just your voice. It's why you sing." The boy's hands shook again. You didn't come here to become famous, Simon continued. You came here because you had no other choice, and that is powerful. Simon paused, clearly holding back tears. This is not just an audition, he said. This is a moment. The boy's knees felt weak. He had sung on streets to survive. Now, the world was listening, and he had no idea what was about to happen next.